There have, over the years, been many alternate futures in comic books and future versions of the heroes we all know, love, and cherish. It takes something really special for a future version of a hero to be better than the classic original, but the following 10 may just about manage to do that. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 10 future versions of heroes better than the original. Number 10. Old Deadpool. It's hard to imagine a version of Deadpool more lovable than the original, but the Spider-Man/Deadpool series gives us just that with a future old man Deadpool. Kind of like Old Man Logan, but, you know, really zany and wacky. The morally upstanding Spider-Man already brings out all kinds of moral complexities with the normal, present-day version of Deadpool, and these are only magnified when we get to take a look into the future. Now, anyone familiar with the character will always know that the original Deadpool has a hard time keeping a grip on reality, but old Deadpool has found a reason to keep it together: his friendship with Spider-Man. In this series, Deadpool is living the high life in a retirement home, costumeless, and getting up to sexy hijinks with his other residents, and I mean, come on, it's Deadpool, what else would he be doing? All the while trying to convince Peter Parker to leave retirement and join him back in the superhero game. What starts off as a silly, over-the-top Golden Girls style escapade actually gets surprisingly deep. You see, old Deadpool has all the silly fourth-wall breaking hilarity of the original Wade Wilson, but those extra years have brought slightly more introspection and a heavy dose of heart, which only enhances the character. Number 9. The League of Batgirls. Barbara Gordon, the first modern Batgirl, is fierce, formidable, and a savvy tech genius, but Future Zen's glimpse into a possible Gotham future gives us something even better. In this Gotham, the role of Batgirl is now encompassed by the League of Batgirls, a team that includes Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, and Tiffany Fox. The only thing better than Barbara as Batgirl is Barbara leading a team of equally fabulous female fighters with their own fascinating histories who work together to bring justice to the streets of Gotham. Number 8. Spider-Man Earth 19529, aka Spider-Man Life Story. Okay, so there is definitely one iconic version of Spider-Man from the future, and that is, of course, Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. The creation of Peter Davids, Miguel endeared himself to comic book fans courtesy of his dashing new suit and the great stories he starred in. But is he better than Peter Parker? Not quite. Even so, that doesn't mean there isn't a quote-unquote future version of Spider-Man that isn't superior to the original character. In actual fact, there is, and it just so happens to be the Peter Parker of Spider-Man Life Story. Life Story was one of my favorite comics of 2019, and it was written by Chip Zdarsky and with art from Spider-Man veteran Mark Bagley. And basically what it does is address the biggest mistake Marvel has ever made with Peter Parker, and that's not allowing him to grow. In Life Story, we finally get to see Peter age over a period of 6 decades, watching as the world changes along with him. For as much as we can all love the original Peter Parker, the fact is that Marvel hasn't let the character grow in the main Marvel universe for about 2 decades now, and that's partially what made the Peter of Life Story so satisfying and so refreshing to read. Number 7. Future Kitty Pryde. X-Men Days of Future Past is set in the dystopian future of 2013. The story is split between the past and the future, with Kitty Pryde travelling back in time into the body of her younger self in order to try and stop the assassination of a senator that will kick off the events that lead to this terrible, nightmarish future. The older Catherine is strong, self-sacrificing, and has decades of extra training and experience that she is able to harness in the past. But that's not all. X-Men The End presents a very different but equally compelling version of the kind of hero Kitty could turn into. A widower with 3 children, she uses her smarts and her strength to get political. She becomes the mayor of Chicago and eventually the president of the United States. She might not be in costume anymore, but Kitty is still fighting the good fight and proving that she's one of the best X-Men around. Number 6. Superman Beyond. As you may have guessed, Superman Beyond is a future version of Superman, but how does he stack up to his younger self? This particular future version of Superman wants to retire and explore the galaxy. He's getting older, and frankly, he's getting tired, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do what's right when he sees injustice, though. Being Superman, as the Man of Steel himself would put it, is a lifelong commitment. When the future Man of Steel decides to pick back up his life in Metropolis, he discovers that future tech has made the police nearly as powerful as he is now. Is Superman even relevant in a world where technology bridges the gap between humans and superhumans? That's essentially the question the series poses, and it's really quite fascinating to see unfold. In the end, Superman Beyond's internal struggle to find himself and his place in a world that has actually moved on from him is deeply human and emotionally wrought. He might not be a better hero when it comes to the heat of battle, but Superman Beyond takes the things we love about the original incarnation of the last son of Krypton and allows him to have a more complex vulnerability that shapes how he behaves as a hero. Also, that suit is really, really cool, it has to be said. Number 5. Cosmic Ghost Rider. The future version of Punisher, aka Frank Castle, is Cosmic Ghost Rider. In this future, a dead, killed by Thanos version of Frank Castle comes back as Ghost Rider after making a deal with Mephisto and ends up getting cosmic powers and a sarcastic sense of humor after spending way too long on an empty Earth where he is the lone survivor. Ouch. He later joins forces with Galactus, who then gets killed by Thanos, and then travels back in time to kill a baby Thanos to stop the tragic future they've all lived through from ever coming to pass. Turns out that baby Thanos might be wild and violent, but he's still just a baby at the end of the day and is actually quite innocent. When Frank travelled to the past, he realised he couldn't kill Thanos, and so instead straps the baby to his chest and takes him adventuring across the galaxy to an alternate timeline he accidentally created. It's kind of like The Mandalorian, except if Din Djarin was raising the literal harbinger of doom and the apocalypse, which, thinking about it, maybe Grogu is. Oh my god, we have to warn them. Okay, so maybe my Baby Yoda theory is slightly out there, but regardless, the Punisher himself is grim dark galore, with the future version of his character brings something new and fun to the mix. Cosmic Ghost Rider is more powerful, less predictable, sassier, and he's got an adorable baby Thanos by his side. That's a winning combination, no matter how you look at it. Number 4. King Thor. I mean, maybe I should have just really said number Thor there, because Thor and Thor. Stop booing me! It's a funny joke! Number Thor. Yeah, number Thor. Regardless, one of the best things about the last decade of Marvel Comics, for me, was getting into Thor. I never really gelled with the character before, but ever since reading Jason Aaron's run on the character, I have been won over completely. And while it might be a stretch to say that this version of Thor is quantifiably superior to the version we're all familiar with, I mean, you could say that about every entry here, to be fair, there is something uniquely cool about King Thor, the future version of the Odinson who rules Asgard and has 3 badass granddaughters who have all inherited their granddad's best qualities. Number 3. Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond. As if this guy needs any introduction. Terry McGinnis is the alter ego of Batman in a future where Bruce Wayne has retired. Originally created for the animated series Batman Beyond, which you should all go watch because it is incredible, he was eventually introduced into the main DC Comics continuity, and then unintroduced and then reintroduced, and oh my god, that whole situation is really confusing, but at the end of the day, we're here to ask one question. Is he the better Batman? Now, I know already there'll be loads of you saying, how could you dare say that anyone other than Bruce Wayne could be the best Batman, but I'm a little bit weird with Batman, and Dick Grayson I think is a really cool Batman, but Terry McGinnis is also just the absolute coolest Batman ever, for a whole host of reasons. The first and most obvious reason is the suit, because come on, look at that thing, how is it not the coolest thing ever? But the other is the dynamic between Terry and Bruce Wayne. There's something entirely fascinating about seeing Bruce having to live vicariously through Terry, because he can't go out into the field anymore. And that's one of the best things about the Batman Beyond cartoon. You see, what makes this incarnation of Batman so interesting is because it isn't just one person. It's both of them. Both Terry and Bruce are Batman in Batman Beyond. They're both working together, and that dynamic of having Bruce be the guy in the chair works so well. Number 2. Carrie Kelley Robin. In the future alternate universe of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, Batman's Robin is newcomer Carrie Kelley. She's undoubtedly a better hero in that universe than Dick Grayson, who obviously goes on to become the Joker, but how does she compare to the original Robin in mainstream comics? Well, to answer that question, look no further than the all-new Batman the Brave and the Bold number 13, where all Robins from past, present, future, and alternate timelines must join together to save Batman. And in it, Nightwing says that while Carrie Kelley might not be the physically strongest of all the Robins, she makes up for it with her enthusiasm and attitude. Everyone who's read The Dark Knight Returns knows this. Carrie Kelley is something special. Able to improvise on the fly, she's a tech extraordinaire, and a girl who earned her way into being Robin through sheer force of will and determination. And number 1, Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan exists in a future timeline set 50 years in the future where heroes are long gone and supervillains rule the world. Logan has long since given up the superhero life and is now settled down with a wife and kids in this now desolate future. He is barely inching out a living farming the land he rents from Bruce Banner's evil inbred grandchildren, which is a sentence I've said way too many times on this channel because, oh my god, Old Man Logan comes up way too much, and it is deeply disturbing. That said, this striking setup creates an unforgettable version of the hero who was popular enough to inspire a movie and a solo comic series thereafter. But is he better than the original Wolverine? That is obviously up for debate. Wolverine is a character who has a fascinating backstory built upon loads of other fascinating backstories, so it would be hard to compete with the sprawling life of the original. Old Man Logan rises to the challenge in a new bleak setting with the unnerving reveal that the fall of the superheroes was Logan's own fault all along.